God is my Father. This cry is being heard ever more frequently in today's world. People are coming to recognize that God is indeed their Father. Consequently, we feel it our duty to publish a message given to the world by God the Father through one of his creatures, who loved him so much, Sister Eugenia Elisabetta Ravasio, and recognized as valid by the Church. We consider it appropriate to introduce this work by quoting the testimony of a former Bishop of Grenoble, the Right Reverend Alexandre Queloz. In 1935 he set up a board of experts drawn from various parts of France to conduct a diocesan inquiry which lasted 10 years. Its members included the Bishop of Grenoble's Vicar General, Monsignor Guéry, a theologian, the Jesuit brothers Fathers Albert and Auguste Valencin-Amons, who ranked among the foremost authorities in the field of philosophy and theology, and were expert in evaluating such cases, and 2 doctors of medicine, one of whom was a psychiatrist. We are sure that this message will help people to understand the deep tenderness the Father has for each one of us, and we hope that it will receive the widest possible circulation. Who is Mother Eugenia, whom God the Father called my beloved daughter, my little plant? In our opinion, Mother Eugenia is one of the greatest lights of our times, the little prophet of a new church in which the Father is the centre and apex of all mankind, and in which unity is the highest ideal of spirituality. She is a light given by the Father to the world at this time of chaos and darkness, so that we may see the road that has to be followed. She was born in San Gervasio d'Adda, now Capriato, San Gervasio, a small town in the province of Bergamo, Italy, on 4th of September 1907, in a family of peasant background. She received only an elementary education. After a few years working in a factory, she entered the congregation of Our Lady of the Apostles at the age of 20 years. It was here that her great charismatic personality developed, leading to her election as Mother General of the congregation at the age of only 25. Quite apart from her spiritual qualities, her work in the social field alone would suffice to ensure her a place in history. In 12 years of missionary activity, she opened over 70 centres, each with infirmary, school and church, in the remotest spots of Africa, Asia and Europe. It was she who discovered the first medicine for the cure of leprosy, extracting it from the seed of a tropical plant. This medicine was later studied and developed further at the Pasteur Institute in Paris. She encouraged the apostolate of Raoul Fallon, who, following in her footsteps and building on the foundations laid by her, is regarded as the apostle of the lepers. During the period 1939 to 41, she conceived, planned and brought to fruition the project for a leper city at Azopte, the Ivory Coast. This was a vast centre covering an area of 200,000 square metres for the care of leprosy sufferers. It remains even today one of Africa's and the world's leading centres of its kind. In recognition of this achievement, France conferred the highest national honour for social work on the Congregation of Missionary Sisters of Our Lady of the Apostles, of which Mother Eugenia was Superior General from 1935 to 1947. Mother Eugenia returned to the Father on 10th of August 1990. Her most important legacy to us is the message of the Father, entitled The Father Speaks to His Children. The only private revelation made personally by God the Father and recognized as authentic by the Church, After 10 years of the most rigorous examination, we reproduce at the beginning of the text the statement issued by Monsignor Alexandre Queloz, Bishop of Grenoble, following the investigation. It is noteworthy that the father, in 1932, dictated the message to Mother Eugenia in Latin, a language totally unknown to her. In 1981 this message came to our notice, and in 1982, its 50th anniversary, we published it in Italian. The many miracles of grace worked by the message have led us to disseminate it gratis, especially in prisons, barracks and hospitals. In addition to English, it is available in French, Italian, Spanish and German and other languages. Father Andrea Descanio. The testimony of the Right Reverend Alexandre Queloz. The Right Reverend Alexandre Queloz, Bishop of Grenoble, following the report prepared during the canonical inquiry into the case of Mother Eugenia. "10 years have passed since, as Bishop of Grenoble, I decided to open an inquiry into Mother Eugenia's case. I now have enough information to bring my testimony as bishop before the Church. 1. The first thing to emerge with certainty from the inquiry is that Mother Eugenia's considerable virtues are well established. From the beginning of her religious life, the sister had attracted her superior's attention because of her piety, her obedience, and her humility. Her superiors, perplexed by the extraordinary nature of the events which occurred during her novitiate, had not wanted to let her stay on in the convent. After some hesitation, they were forced to abandon their plan when faced with the nun's exemplary conduct. During the inquiry, Sister Eugenia showed great patience and the utmost docility in submitting without complaint to all the medical tests, answering the theological and medical commissions, often long and distressing questioning, and accepting contradictions and trials. Her simplicity in particular was praised by all the investigators. A number of circumstances also showed the nun to be capable of practicing virtue to a heroic degree, according to the theologians. An especially striking feature was her obedience during Father Auguste Valencien's inquiry in June 1934, and her humility on the sad day of 20th December 1934. As her General Superior, I can attest that I found her very devoted to her duty, dedicating herself to her task, which must have seemed all the more difficult to her, as she was not prepared for it, with great love for souls, her congregation and the Church. Those close to her are struck, as I myself am, by her strength of spirit in facing difficulties. I am impressed not only by her virtues, but also by the qualities she displays in exercising her authority. Also striking is the fact that a relatively uneducated nun should come to fill her congregation's highest office. In this there is already something extraordinary, and, from this point of view, the inquiry conducted by my Vicar General, Monsignor Guéry, on the day of her election is very significant. The answers given by the chapter members and by the superiors and delegates of the various missions showed that they were choosing Mother Eugenia as their superior general, in spite of her youth and the canonical obstacles which would normally have caused the idea of her nomination to be rejected because of her qualities of judgment, balanced temperament, energy and firmness. Reality would seem to have far surpassed the hopes that her electors placed in her. What I especially noticed in her was her lucid, lively, and penetrating intelligence. I said that her education had been inadequate, but this was for external reasons over which she had no control. Her mother's long illness had compelled her, at a very early age, to look after the house and be absent from school very often. Then, before she entered the convent, there was a hard year she worked in industry as a weaver. Notwithstanding these basic gaps, the consequences of which are evidenced in her style and spelling. Mother Eugenia gives many lectures in her community. It is worth noting that she herself compiles her congregation's circulars and the contracts with municipal authorities or administrative councils regarding the hospital institutes of Our Lady of the Apostles. She has also compiled a long directory